You ever see two chickens race? Let's see what happens.
On your mark, get set, go.
Today we have two identical chickens. We're gonna season them the exact same way. We're gonna cook them on the exact same grill. The only difference is we're gonna butcher these out two different ways. Let's see which one cooks faster and which one turns out better. Now I have my own opinion about which one is probably gonna turn out better and faster, but we're gonna turn to science today. So I'm gonna use the Chef IQ to monitor internal temperature to see which one actually is cooking faster so we can get some actual data behind our cook. This one right here, we're leaving whole just the way God made him. This one is gonna pay for its crimes. Spatchcock it, we just take a nice sharp knife and we take out the backbone. Flip them over, little CPR. Now who's a good chicken? Today's binder is Fire Wrangler Outlaw Sauce. It's mayo based, so it's got a lot of oil in it. It's gonna make the skin crisp up really well. Here we go. Next, going in with some Fire Wrangler Zesty Ranchero. Lime, smoke, herbs, garlic, all the Tex-Mex flavor you want. And top it off with some Fire Wrangler Cattle Call, nice coarse salt, pepper, garlic. That's really gonna dry that skin out. And now, to make sure we're being scientific, the Chef IQ. We're gonna take one of these probes out of the bay. We're gonna put it right in the thickest part of the meat so that we can monitor actually what is going on inside that thing. Now the cool thing is the Chef IQ app has tons of different functionality. You can track your cook, you can monitor it over time, you can see what's happening real time here at the store, in the living room, it doesn't really matter. So we're gonna be able to watch these birds, even though I'm not watching these birds. We'll see how they turn out. Not gonna need these today. Yeah, don't need you guys.
On your mark, get set, go.
All right, chicken's on the grill. Now we're gonna wait a little bit, but let's talk a little bit about the science behind this whole process. When a chicken is in its whole natural God-intended state, it is a 3D object. It's completely round. You have a bottom, you have a top, you have sides, you have an inside, you have an outside. The problem with that is that as the heat comes up from the bottom, because we're using a direct heat grill, it goes all the way around that chicken, but it gets a little uneven on the top, on the sides, on the bottom. The bottom tends to cook a little hotter. The top tends to not get as much ambient heat. So the idea behind spatchcocking a chicken is that you're flattening out that 3D object into a 2D object. So now you have a top, you have a bottom. You can flip it. If you never want to flip it and you just want to focus on the top being really pretty, you can do that as well. Most people regard spatchcocking a chicken as a significantly faster way to cook it and a significantly juicier way to cook it, just because of the fact that you can kind of continually flip and keep those juices inside of it. I don't know all the science behind it, but I'll tell you I've tested it quite a bit, and I do believe the spatchcock is probably going to win. But we're doing a scientific test with that Chef IQ today, so that's going to tell us really what's going on. I've been checking the monitoring on my app right now, and it's pretty neck and neck. I would have thought the spatchcock chicken would have been cooking far and away faster than the whole bird, and they are within 2 degrees of each other. And honestly, the color looks about the same on the outside as well. So we're going to continue to monitor this. I love the flavor of smoked chicken, but you rarely ever get a nice crispy skin on smoked chicken because the temperature is just not hot enough to render out all the fat underneath that skin. So you end up with a lot of smoke in it, but you don't get a crispy skin. I like to do a hot smoke, which is what we're doing today. So we're starting off at about 350 degrees ambient temperature in the cooker. This is going to start that rendering process underneath the skin a lot faster. So the fat's going to start to render, the skin is going to thin out, which means it's going to have the ability to get crispy. Now the two seasonings we use today from Fire Wrangler, Zesty Ranchero and Cattle Call, both have enough salt in them to dry out that skin and render it down nice and crispy. So that's going to help us quite a bit. Keeping the temperature hot the entire time in the 300 to 350 degree range is going to make sure that that skin stays crispy. It's also going to make sure that bird cooks pretty quick. I'm shooting for about an hour 15 cook. I want to get enough smoke with that pecan wood that I have in there, so I'm not blasting it 450 degrees like you would when you're putting it in an oven. But we definitely want to keep it low enough to get some smoke, but fast enough that it gets us cooked done and it renders that crispy skin. Spatchcock's off. Whole bird's still on there. And the whole bird's off. I gotta be honest, it was only about a 10-minute difference. That kind of shocked me. Typically, I would expect the spatchcock to cook a lot faster. We're gonna let these rest for about 10 or 15 minutes. When we'll come back, I'm gonna do a very scientific juice test, which is basically me cutting into it, seeing how juicy it is. All right, so real talk. Overall, I'm pretty impressed. I did compare this to another name brand thermometer that I've been using for years that I really trust, just because you never really know. And as you can see here, it definitely is within like 1 degree of this other name brand thermometer. So overall, I'm pretty happy with tracking, pretty happy with the ambient temperature monitoring. Really kind of like the timer countdown to see how long the meal is going to take to finish. It's super handy. This was the great chicken race. Let's see who won. First up, we're going to remove the probes. Oop, sorry, that was up your behind. That was monitoring the thigh. All right, we're going to test this 2 different ways. We're going to cut into the breast and we're going to cut into the thigh. On the thigh itself, very, very moist. Delicious. Into that breast. Overall, not bad. I'm definitely juicy down in here. Let me squeeze that juice. Let's see how the whole bird did. I gotta say maybe the same, although honestly the thigh on this one may be a little juicier, which is kind of surprising. The breast. This breast is probably a touch drier. It still doesn't look overly dry, but okay, eating it, not the moistest. The way it looked and the way it tasted are 2 very different things. Spatchcock one is way moister in the breast. The thighs, about the same spatchcock thigh. Whole bird thigh. Whole bird thigh is drier too. I know the spatchcock one cooked faster and obviously ended up being a little bit more moist. All right, I gotta be honest with you. Every bird is different. Did that bird eat more grass and that bird ate more corn? And that one ate more bugs? And this one ate more who knows? So unless you had a way to cook one bird 2 ways, the best we can do is this side-by-side comparison. So same amount of charcoal, same temperature, heat, same seasoning, same everything. Spatchcock cooked a lot quicker, ended up being a lot more moist and juicy. So that's still gonna be my go-to method. Chef IQ is nothing new. Like there has been wireless probe thermometers on the market for years. So like full candid, like this is not brand new technology. They bring some really cool features to it though that I actually really enjoy compared to a lot of the other probe thermometers that are out there on the market. One of them being they're a lot thinner than a lot of the other probes on the market. That's actually a pretty stinking thin probe, all things considered. It's also a 360 degree probe, so rather than just having the tip here being the thing that detects the temperature, it's got temperature sensors throughout 360 degrees all around this thing, so it in theory should be significantly more accurate. This is also an ambient temperature sensor on the end here that you can activate so that when this is inside your meat, this will tell you the kind of heat that's actually going to be hitting the meat from the grill itself. Comes in a cool handy charging base, which is nothing new, but it's kind of nice to have. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth setup was legitimately a breeze. Like I hit this a couple times, it went into find mode, the app just found it, it detected the probes. All that was really, really simple. These tout a high heat resistance to 752 degrees. She's talking to me. But that is higher than the traditional, which I think the last time I saw was like 400 degrees. They're 100% waterproof, so you'll see that I can wash them in the sink, which is really nice. I don't know if they're dishwasher safe, but you don't really need to. A quick rinse does a really good job on it. You can deep fry with them, and you can air fry with them because of the high temperature sensor and because of the fact that they're waterproof. So you can take this thermometer right here, stick it in a turkey, and fully submerge it down in the oil And in theory, it should tell you the temperature. So that's cool. That's different than a lot of the other ones on the market. It touts 40 hours of use of that probe on one single charge. So, I mean, even if you do a brisket cook, which is like 8 to 12 hours, you're still going to get 3, maybe even 4 of those out of one single charge on the probes, and you can always put them back in here and recharge them. I like the fact that this model has 3 different probes that come with it, so I can keep them all charged and can use 1, 2, or 3. It doesn't really matter. A lot of the other ones just come with one individual probe. It's cool for a burger, steak, a chicken breast, but when I'm cooking a bunch of different things, I want to see what's going all around. And the only option I've had up to this point has been one of those units that have a bunch of wires going everywhere. So this is really going to be able to help to see what's going on in different proteins all over my grills. So all things considered, you guys know I used a lot of different thermometers. Super happy with the Chef IQ. I think it's going to have a spot in my kitchen for quite a while. Definitely going to enjoy playing around with it. This Chef IQ actually really impressed me. If you're interested in it, check the link in my bio. It'll take you right where you can get it. It's super affordable. It's actually one of the most affordable ones on the market. And to be honest, I was really impressed with how it performed. Definitely going to be using it more often.